Hey guys, thanks for being here with me today. On our right, I've got Jackson Trummer, and on the left, Micky Pearson. Both of these guys are BA senior students finishing up their undergraduate degrees here in the Department of Art. Jackson, you have a photo concentration, and Micky, your general studio art. I wanted to start by just saying thank you to you guys for putting together this duo exhibition that we've got here. To start things off, I want you to tell me a little bit about the title for this show that you've put together. How did you come up with Inertia, My Love, as the show title?
That's a good question.
I feel like you should take the lead on this one.
Okay. We were thinking of show titles, and there wasn't really any sway towards one or the other. And I guess this came up in one of my poems. And when I said Inertia, My Love, he was immediately on board, but we didn't really kind of discuss the concept behind the title. It just kind of like once it was said, it stuck. So I'm actually curious to see now what what Inertia, My Love means to you.
I mean, when we figured out that that was the title we were going with, we were in the middle of shooting, and I don't know, it just sounded effective and pretty, and I thought as far as my direction in the show, it was applicable.
Yeah.
And then in the show poster that you designed for it, Jackson, you ended up doing some blacking out of text to reveal just the words Inertia, My Love as the remaining text. And Micky, you also have incorporated typewriters in your practice. So to start talking about the content of the show, do you guys want to talk about the role of production and text in it, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like it's important to say that we never explicitly discussed any of our ideas or anything. We were just always kind of on the same page and weaving around each other.
Okay.
Which I think made it a really fun experience in that we were backing each other up and also bouncing off each other, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, the poems and stuff were a why to the photos what, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They were sort of laying context for what I wanted viewers to kind of connect with in the photos.
Do you both have poems in the show?
I have 2 poems on the wall, and then a clip of a poem that I wrote in this multimedia piece.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we both have the same more sensibilities towards what we were making. That's why it seemed so easy for us to work together. And yeah, I feel really lucky to have worked with you, because I mean, it was super easy the whole semester. You would get an idea, and it would be a random time in the day, random day of the week. Oh, I got this idea. It's yeah, cool, let's do that. And then I would have an idea another time, oh, I thought of this. And it just was like this. We each had an idea, and every time one of us proposed this idea, it's yeah, let's try it out. And it just was back and forth, in conversation. And then when it actually came to us being in the same space together, doing the photo shoots, then our actions had followed the same manner. We were always, it was very fluid, the way that our energies were working. So it was really, really cool to collaborate with you.
So you guys have been talking about the process of collaborating and bouncing off each other and kind of working on your own projects and seeing how those meld together. I'm interested in hearing more about some of the specific themes that each of you were thinking about and representing in your work, and kind of what the main takeaways are. So themes or takeaways from these works that you're hoping are registering for the viewers.
Like I said, we were kind of on our own, but also intertwined in a lot of the process of the show. And I think as far as like my side of the work goes, I was really interested in like memory and why and how it like sustains itself, and like ideas of grief and like letting go and like clinging on to things. And I feel like you're not too far off.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak for myself. I work very intuitively, and a lot of the things that I'm doing only make sense after looking back in retrospect. And I think
Yeah, the same thing goes for me too.
just the way that we were doing everything was very like, we felt, we saw it, we knew, okay, this was the right thing. But yeah, I think I was working through memory, sense of self. There's a little bit of like history, like art history, family history, looking back in time to the past, present, future, that kind of thing. Which I think inertia was a cool term to kind of describe
I was just thinking about
that like energy across different times. I think that's
Yeah, and I think that some of the mediums that you're working with are really eliciting those themes. Like you've got different types of more outdated or vintage media like cassettes and found objects, black and white photography. These all kind of give it this like grounding in the past and kind of almost archival studies. Do you guys want to talk about how your thoughts on what mediums you were going to be working on when you knew that you had the show coming up and were making work? Did things shift with what you started out making and what you ended up presenting here?
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because all of the more like aesthetically pleasing, all of the beauty in the show is Jackson. He's got the photo editing, like all of the photos.
What's the most beautiful work to you in the show that he made?
It's all beautiful. I don't know.
No, you gotta pick your favorite.
I think.
And what's the ugliest too? Say that one.
I mean, I'm a little biased. I think the most beautiful is this urinal. I love it.
That is fair.
But aside from that, I think one of the coolest things was I didn't even get a chance to read any of his poems because the day of the show was so chaotic, and we were like setting up right until the time of the show.
4 minutes before the show, we
Down to the
figured
wire
all
with
junk
the
out,
install.
Yeah, so I never even really got to read any of your poems, and then after the show, maybe 2 days later, I was in here alone and I like got to read it. And that was probably one of the most like beautiful moments for me to experience the show, because it's different if you're part of the show. Everything's going on. You're getting pulled in so many different directions. You don't actually get to look at the space.
Have the time to absorb until after all the work and setup is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, spending the time making things look nice, and then I'm bringing in all this rusty stuff. We're sweeping up all the rust and yeah. But I know, I think it's a cool like combination between the objects and the mediums that we were working with. I think it would be very different if it was like only stuff hanging on the wall. Yeah.
I think that sort of duality is effective in supporting the themes of the show too, like there's some like bittersweetness aspect, I think, to what we talk about here. And I think those contrasting elements are, I don't know if you agree with that. Or
There's a really cool like symbiosis between these already existing things that kind of invoke nostalgia, or not necessarily, like especially with our family photos, those are more on the nostalgic side, but these ones are like you were mentioning, like everything was shot on film. We have the cassettes, so it's that outdated.
Did the cassettes come from family collections too, or?
The cassettes were not family. I just kind of
located them.
happened to
Found objects, yeah. But so there's family photos from both of your families incorporated?
Yeah.
Were those things that you guys already had in your possession and knew that you wanted to use in your work, or did you kind of have to seek them out, get your hands on them once you realized that they could go well with it?
I was working with family photos like the whole semester, so it's cool
I,
to lock them in.
Yeah, we were, again, that's just one of those things that like we clicked on without even realizing. Like I showed up and I had them. He's like,
Yeah.
shit, I've got these too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool.
But I was like, we had all the photos done. We had all of our work done. We had like most of our work done. And we were at the point where we were kind of thinking about like what we could use to supplement the space, I guess.
Okay.
I feel like in those like last few days. And I found all these photos. It made me really sad because I was like going through them and I found, you can't really see it from here, this photo of my grandmother.
The one that's to the bottom right
Yeah,
of
the
that
bottom
portrait?
right of the self-portrait. And I just kind of knew I had to have it in here because we were really close and she passed over the summer, and this was like the first big event since like that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me it was kind of started with that, kind of wanting her here, and then it branched out into that like nostalgic realm, I think. For me anyway, I won't speak for you.
Yeah, I think nostalgia was a huge theme that I was working through with my other writing and with photo. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work that didn't really get put in the space.
Yeah. So this is like a third of the work that we had made.
Yeah.
It's difficult to decide what to
Yeah.
include, especially in a space like this, project space, where it's a small room. Do you guys want to talk about the experience of, since we do turnover in this space every couple of weeks, you only had a couple of days to plan the install of, the curation, get things in here, and then actually get them up. And what was that like to be working together on these separate but related bodies of work and building the space in order for them to share the space? What was that like?
Pure chaos. I think first and foremost, we should thank Kate.
Yeah.
Because this
Huge
would
shout
not
out
be
to Kate.
this would not be done if she didn't help us. No, we showed up the day before in a snowstorm. Yeah, and
Popped
I
his
just
tire.
Yeah, popped my tire on
Yeah.
the way in. Ended up sleeping in that corner,
Overnight?
maybe.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah. I heard nothing.
And yeah, and then the next day from 9 a.m. to when did the show start? 5.
Yeah.
Just go.
It was. I
Not a
became-
moment. Yeah.
You got to see my manic side. I was really
Yeah.
just because we didn't really know what was going to be in the show. So
Mhm.
like we said, we made a lot more than what we put up.
Mm-hmm.
All of that was in the space, and we were just trying to decide what goes where, if it even like passes our judgment for
Yeah.
being in the show. And we were just walking around all of the stuff, and it was very chaotic. And it happened in like 2 days.
Not
The-
even.
Because we had like a beginning that night before where we set this up, we set this
Mhm.
wall up, where it was like, okay, it's,
Yeah, we got
start-
some ideas. Like we
Yeah.
played with the space of it.
Evenly paced, getting
Yeah.
things started. Yeah.
And then the next day.
Yeah,
was-
we
Crunch
totally
time.
underestimated our time.
You underestimated
I
your time.
think so.
Yeah, for sure.
So in terms of learning experience of collaborating with someone on a dual show, producing these bodies of work that you have displayed and all the other parts of these series that aren't here, and then actually putting it up, what do you think is like a next step in terms of if you already have any brainstorms about continuing the same series, things that you might do differently if you were to display the same work again in a different space. What can people expect from you guys next year after all the excitement generated from this
Yeah.
show?
I would love to do another show.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, life is hard to plan out.
Mhm.
Okay,
What's gonna
yeah.
happen in the next few weeks, months. I don't know, do you have any artistic ventures that you want to find yourself in the future?
I'm in a moment of hibernation right now that I need to be broken out of. So,
Yeah.
Well, it is midwinter,
Yeah.
so that's fair.
um,
Yeah.
I guess I'm really wondering if doing the show and making those selections makes you think about the work in different ways, and if there's anything that you want to like push in a different direction with these works by either creating new or displaying different.
I think I learned a lot about how I articulate myself, like, with work. And I think we were just lucky enough to, like, get paired up in a sense that we have, like, similar, like you said, similar sensibilities in how we display, like, what we're trying to say. I don't know if that even answers your question, but
Yeah. No, it was cool how it unfolded from the beginning of us kind of like both booking the space at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Requesting use and then like me
Yeah.
suggesting, could you do it together? Yeah.
Like, yeah, actually, and I think there's a symbiosis in that where it was like, what happened in the space is definitely more than the sum of the two parts.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there was something greater that came out that I couldn't do on my own.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe you could do it.
oh, I definitely did.
So does it make you think about maybe trying to keep an eye on artists that are working in the same area as yourselves that you might want to try and collaborate with in the future? Like basically, do you like collaborating, or do you think that it'd be a different change of pace and a different kind of experiment and experience to do a solo show next time you might be showing?
That's a good question.
I was thinking a lot about that because I was thinking about how like fun this was, and I think the only reason it was so enjoyable is because we went friends for like what, a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were already like comfortable with each other at that point, I think. And so I was trying to decide if that's the only reason it was fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be different if it was like, you know,
Somebody you don't know.
yeah, in our works,
Mhm.
there were so many parallels.
Yeah. And we've worked not like together, but like we've had classes together and shit. Like, sorry.
Well, let's talk about like the dual portraits then. Like how did these come about? Whose idea was that to go combo?
On like the double exposures and such.
Yeah, and doesn't that one like have both of you
Yeah.
like in it?
Mhm.
Are there others that are both of you?
A
A couple, right?
Decent amount.
There's that
Yeah.
one. That one. That one. There's a few.
There's a lot more that didn't
Yeah.
put them.
Did you start making those after you knew this show was coming up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything except for like what 2 pieces was made specifically for the show.
Okay, sweet.
Do you want to say
Yeah, it was kind of cool how it happened. Like, it was maybe 3 weeks before, probably.
Yeah, our first like big bout of like work was barely a month
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
Because like, but the idea thing that was consistent throughout, like reminding each other, like, oh yeah, it's it's only a month away now.
Yeah.
And then once
Mhm.
it got to feel that pressure, it's like we actually have to do something.
Yeah.
The show is in 3 weeks.
A deadline does
Yeah.
help
So
sometimes.
I went over his house and we did the first photo shoot, and it's cool to see how the photo shoots progressed over time.
Mm.
The first time it was like, okay, I'll use my camera and shoot just you, and then you use your camera and shoot just me,
Mm-hmm.
and then like as they progressed, they just all the images just became like, okay, let's
Started out very rigid.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like, okay, this one is your role, this one is my role,
Yeah.
and then like towards the end, our second photo shoot, I think we only shot like 2 rolls, and
It was like 4 hours.
I think even
Yeah.
more. I think
You
it
think
was
so?
5.
Carefully crafted
Yeah.
shots.
So we were I mean, yeah.
And many cigarette breaks.
Oh.
So I don't know.
The Department of Art at the University of Buffalo does not endorse smoking.
We'll cut that.
Yeah, we can cut that.
I don't know how to cut things.
Okay, that's fine.
But that's part of the.
Yeah.
We were going out for fresh air, and
Yeah.
we were also talking about different concepts, and I think that built into these strong images because they took so long. It was not just like we were just snapping, snap, snap. It was, oh, well, what do you think if we do this? Or what if you think if we do this? And it takes 30 minutes to set up one shot,
Mhm.
and then they came out really. I'm really happy with them.
I think that's why too. There's only a few pieces in the space that will fully attribute to one person.
Okay.
Because a lot of it was so like intertwined. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't even worry about labels.
Like labels and stuff. Yeah.
So, based on the fact that there aren't labels, if we were gonna, let's just say, isolate those double exposures that are
Mhm.
portraits of both of you, would you guys be able or want to give that like maybe mini series a title? Like if someone wanted to exhibit just those, how does that get named and classified?
I don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to speak for Micky, but I feel like all of this exists in like a vacuum almost. I feel like it's all sort of orbiting itself in theme, and I don't know if that makes sense or if I'm just.
Feels like a time capsule.
Yeah. I think things can be plucked and applied elsewhere.
Well, just
But-
because a lot of calls
Yeah.
for work, you only be
Yeah.
able to submit, if you want to be in a group show, a couple of
Yeah.
things. Can these be displayed individually, or do they have to be together?
I think they could. I think they can be. But I think I would personally would hold off from isolating them until the occasion occurred. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what you think.
It's interesting. I mean, like if there was an open call for black and white film photography, double exposure, like sure we could like apply, but I think it would lose a little bit of the meaning behind them because I think it was.
Mhm.
I mean, I was trying to really interrogate like what a self is, and
Mhm.
I think there was a little bit of like questioning of existence also. So I think like having our faces was in a way like were these just kind of bodies or faces that we were trying to figure out who they were,
Mhm.
and everything around it is kind of like interrelated into the idea of what a self is, I guess. So if you take all of the extensions away from like these, they're still images on their own. I think
Mhm.
they're strong images.
Yeah, the compositions are strong, but I get what you're saying about them being products
Yeah.
of this collaboration at this point in time.
Yeah.
Speaking about time, do you want to comment, Micky, on the found objects beyond the cassettes?
Sure.
Jackson, too. I don't know how much collecting you did of some of the artifacts in the show.
Yeah, I don't know. So their emergency drinking water, I'm not gonna mess with it because the mic's on it, but their emergency
You can lift the mic off if
drinking
you
water.
want.
I'll do a little stack. They're packed during the Cold War era. I think in the 70s. They're still full of water, which is really interesting. I've just accumulated a lot of them this semester from an abandoned military base.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it just kind of played into the this element of like emergency drinking water, something that we're saving vitality for something. I think it also plays into the tapes and the film, like things that are
The things that give us life and the way
Yeah.
that.
I guess so. I haven't really thought about this actually. I think I want to divert and go in a different direction.
Away from the water.
Yeah, well, I think also it was more of like, as artists, in a sense, everything has already been done before by everyone. So,
We explored here, yeah.
so it was kind of like a play on I think there was a little bit going into it. We did kind of talk about it, that this was like a play on Warhol's cans,
Okay.
the soup cans of a time where, you know, Campbell's soup was sustenance for the healthy American, and now it's like we've reached a point where, you know, the art world is in an interesting place.
Mhm.
That's where the urinal comes in also, like Duchamp's brand
Fountain.
new urinal,
Yeah.
in a space where this one is not new, cracked, and it has moss growing on it.
And there's a signature on it, right?
That was also like a kind of nod to Marcel Duchamp for.
What does the
Our
signature
Mutt.
say, huh?
So he signed R Mutt, and this one says R Moss, because it's kind of like, you know.
It's got moss.
Yeah,
It's
and
got
which
moss.
I thought this was really interesting to me, but this was packaged by Lord Mott, which is the same.
No, really?
Yeah, it was the same company that Duchamp got his urinal from, which that blew
That's
my mind
cool.
when I.
Oh.
Yeah,
So meta. Huh?
when I saw that, I was like,
What? That's cool.
Sweet. So, okay, so you've got some references to Warhol and Duchamp. Is there any other research or artists that you guys were thinking about or referencing?
I know we were both sort of launched by Mark Fisher.
yeah, huge influence.
Yeah, Ghost of My Life. John made us read it. And his like ideas of ontology.
Hauntology?
Yeah, kind of like.
Can you
I feel like
define-
might be better at.
Hauntology?
You went there.
I went there. I thought we had to call it out. No, just kind of ideas of like a loss of future and this sort of desire for not nostalgia in like the happy nostalgic sense, but in the sense of like staying linked to like the analog in the past and that sort of deal. We're both sparked by that a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like a melancholic yearning for the past, or even a time that didn't exist. Like looking back, because we
Yeah.
didn't really experience the times that we have these items from. So it's almost in a
Mhm.
sense like the
Yearning to
hauntol-
know the past,
Yeah,
maybe?
there's like the hauntology of like having these ghosts with us, of wanting to know, of wanting to experience, but not really having it.
And I think something that's interesting about that is, like you said, we don't know these eras, and so I feel like in here we've kind of created our own like pocket dimension of
Pocket dimension.
something that's like reminiscent but not faithful. I don't know. Should we talk about like
Sweet.
other artists? I don't know. I mean, I have
Go
influences.
for
I
it.
don't
Yeah,
know.
go for it.
I mean, it might not be like super relevant here, but like huge influences of mine are, of course I forget now.
It's
Stage
okay.
right. Francesca Woodman. I'm so mad at myself.
It's okay.
It'll come back.
What's his name?
I mean,
He's like my favorite artist.
Frank,
it'll come back.
Joseph, Harold.
Should I look it up?
You could,
I mean,
if you want.
Later.
I think I was definitely inspired by Rauschenberg. I would say he's probably my favorite multimedia artist that I look up to. So I definitely had, I guess, him in mind when I was working through this. No works in particular, just, I don't know, I think that this piece was more of like, as a self-portrait of, I guess, finding objects, and then,
Yeah, I'm definitely getting, now that you say that, I can't believe I didn't look at that and think, oh yeah, Rauschenberg, because
yeah, I love Rauschenberg.
you've got some good layering and found objects and the different types of mediums incorporated into multimedia object.
Yeah. So I think there's that element of like, acknowledging the lineage of where art has brought us to at this current state. But also it's like, with the emergency drinking water, it's like, what else is there to do other than recycle the past at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of make our own something new. But yeah, I don't know.
Sweet.
You want to go back to your...
Dwayne Michaels.
Dwayne Michaels. Okay.
Took that one.
Is
And
that a
A-
photographer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Ava HD, as far as writing, I don't know if you've heard her story, but she's pretty cool.
What type of camera and film are the portrait works on? Is it various or?
It's
all one?
mostly on my Mamiya C220.
Yeah.
And then we shot a bunch. We shot Portra. I usually shoot Portra in Ilford HP5.
We got some new films too.
Yeah, I tried some experimental one.
Which would turn out really
That was
cool.
awesome. And then you had Portra also, right? Or was it Kodak Gold?
I had gold.
Yeah. So we shot all over the place, but it was mostly 120 film, a few 35 thrown in.
Some Polaroid. that
yeah.
didn't-
Well,
didn't
we
make the
have
film,
a
or
lot of
didn't make the
Polaroids.
show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did makeup on the walls.
Yeah.
And then, Micky, what kind of, for the shots of like the cans and then the
Mhm.
printing that you have done with them, do you want to mention the different processes that you used for the can prints?
Yeah, the colorful ones are screen prints, and the blue and brown ones are cyanotypes on like handmade cardboard paper.
Sweet.
Blended up some cardboard and
And then the projection.
projection.
How did that come about?
That is actually in my studio. That's where all the cans were. And yeah, just kind of set up a tripod and typed the same poem over and over and over and over.
Is it a poem that's in the show?
It's this poem right here, but that's only this first snippet of it. But the full poem, I don't think is in the show actually.
Did it burn away?
It did burn away. That's exactly what happened.
Damn.
Yeah.
We also had a lot of writing that didn't make it into the show.
The what? The writing that is in the show is really good though. It's really strong.
My ego needed that.
Well, I will maybe end with a request that you guys think about how you can share documentation of this show with people after it, because now we've heard your thoughts about it and what the experience was like in the creation, but some sort of book or digital portfolio representation that kind of allows people to, separate from your individual ones, see this as a joint project credited to you both would be very cool. So that's my request for something that you can look into doing
It could be
in some
our
capacity.
own project.
Yeah, I think we could have the word maybe put little disclaimers of like, oh, this piece was like the
Yeah.
experience of like, oh, it's a fun little tidbit, like like the goggles.
The goggles, yeah.
The goggles.
Do we need to get into the goggles?
We can.
Or should we leave that a mystery?
Are they here?
They're here.
Where?
They're sitting behind.
Check behind
here.
your ear.
So, for the performance part of the whatever performance, I had
At the
these-
opening reception.
Yeah, I had these really cool goggles.
Wait, should we explain the strap?
Yeah. So, I mean, you could.
So the day of our setup, I'm driving in and I hit a bungee cord that someone left in the road, ripped up my tire,
Oh, the bungee
wrapped around my
cord.
axle, and I managed to salvage it.
Oh,
This
boy.
was the,
Yeah.
This was the culprit of
That's
this.
a
And
durable
yeah.
bungee.
And so it became the strap for the goggles.
Yeah, like this was the last thing before people started coming. Like,
Yeah.
how am I gonna get this to my face? I don't know what we're gonna do. It's like, the
I like
bungee cord.
Got
a ray of
something.
light shone from
Oh my
behind
God.
me.
Perfect.
An aha moment.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of sums up the concept of inertia. It's like, you know, Jackson was this force in motion, and this stopped.
And I did not stay in motion.
And I guess the force that kind of brought it back to motion was creativity and using
The destructive element to
Yeah.
create something.
Exactly, using what stops you to be the thing that moves you forward. So I thought that was pretty cool.
All right, now I have to touch on the inertia of that performance because I only, unfortunately, was present for part of it, and I've had multiple questions asked to me that I say, I don't know, talk to Micky and Jackson. The performance that happened at the opening reception earlier this month, how did that come about?
Well, first of all, we have a video if you want a copy of it.
I will be getting a copy of it for sure.
Okay.
If
you're
willing that.
Or if you want to leave it as
It is what it is.
a limited moment in time.
Okay.
Anyway.
You don't have to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it.
Yeah.
Was the performance pre-planned?
So here's the thing. Months, weeks, we had spoke about what we wanted to do. It was mostly Mickey's guidance. I kind of was just there to help push it along.
I was pushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had all these ideas, and then came the day of the show. The week before, every day, we were like, we need to get a script or rehearse or something.
So the fact that there would be a performance was planned, and ideas were being generated.
That was like a constant from the start.
Yeah.
You just didn't know what.
Okay.
It was like
We had so many ideas. One of
Okay.
the running ones was that we were going to get legally married.
Which did not happen.
No, we found someone on campus that's ordained.
Did you know that actually anybody can be certified by the state of New York to be a one-day marriage officiant if they go to the municipal office and apply for that with the couple who's applying for their marriage license? Yeah. I have done it before. This is something that
Really?
New York State actually just brought into law in the spring of 2023. So yeah, you guys could
We could've
become marriage officiants for other people.
Well, it was one of the running ideas, and then we were like, how is this going to affect us in tax season? And then it
Yeah.
kind of fell apart from there.
I was like, I don't.
And you didn't want to do it just symbolically.
I think my personal thought was, what's the point if we're not going to?
You wanted like paperwork and everything.
Yeah,
and I
because
was-
why not?
I mean, I just didn't want the consequence of
Yeah.
having to like file anything. So many things. It's like, oh yeah, I'm
I
actually
just-
married.
I just love the idea of like 10 years down the line being like, oh, I forgot I'm married.
I have a secret spouse.
Gotta
Yeah.
call my husband up, see what he's doing.
Yeah. I never said no. I just never said
I think we both
yes.
kind of came to the same
And
conclusions.
It just
Mhm.
kind of
Like fizzled out.
fizzled out
Okay.
and never brought up again, and it just was never talked
And we
about.
had some other ideas, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, your character who got lost at sea.
Oh, yeah.
A character that got lost at sea.
Yeah, we
You can't really-
were also really obsessed with oh my gosh, the names.
I don't know the name actually.
It's okay.
It was
No,
a
it's not.
character who
It's
a real
a
life
real
character.
man, yeah.
Um,
Should I look it up too?
An artist or a character in a
He
just-
yeah.
piece of
uh,
entertainment?
Yeah, an interesting
I'll look it up. So
Mr. Bean.
person. Yeah.
he there was like this race to be the first person to sail around the world. He
Oh.
wanted to get into it. He put all this money into it and then realized he didn't know what he was doing.
Okay.
So his whole plan was to cheat through it, and then he went crazy and off himself in the middle of the ocean.
Okay.
But they found his boat in his diaries, and he just Donald Crowhurst. Sorry.
Okay.
They found his diaries, and he just developed this crazy philosophy about life and God, and we got really interested in that.
Okay.
Which inspired not only this performance, but another performance that happened early in the
Oh, yeah.
semester, which was actually the first collaboration that we did.
On
Jackson-
Lake LaSalle.
Jackson
And we have
captured
a
the
photo.
photograph. Yeah, it's right
Mm,
there. So
mhm.
that was like inspired through this
Yeah.
Donald
Donald Crowhurst.
Crowhurst.
Okay.
Was kind of like embodying that spirit, and then also during the performance. Too.
The spirit of adventure and competition, the spirit of getting lost, but also creating a written record.
I think, I mean, for me, I think what's most compelling about the story is like this sort of fraudulent leap for greatness.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
okay.
Because his that was good. That was good. No, because his whole plan was to just cheat and slip in. And,
Greatness or madness?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
Is there a difference?
You heard it here first.
Well, you guys are certainly both destined for greatness, and even though you didn't get legally married at the reception,
Which I'm still pissed about.
Well,
I mean,
My
anyway,
proposal was turned
There
down.
could be a part. I never said no.
your work has been married
Yeah.
through this
Wow.
collaboration.
And there could be
That's
a.
good.
It's been sanctified.
Inertia, my love, part 2. Who knows?
Inertia, my
The
love, part
inertia-
2.
The inertia aim.
Inertia.
Or maybe you could change one word. What changes by the next time you guys do this together?
That would be an interesting take.
The performances. Sorry, I keep forgetting on my camera.
Any final words?
I would like to say it's been a pleasure working with Micky and getting to do all this together. It made for a really fun and eventful last semester.
Yeah, and
Likewise, I think it was a really. I only have gratitude for the semester unfolding. Really,
Yeah.
I think a lot of our focus was put into the show.
All of my focus. Also
Yeah,
a lot,
most of it, which is kind of, it was worth
I think so.
the consequences of dealing with the classes that weren't being attended to, I think.
well, it is very important to keep things balanced, but
Exactly.
in the life
You're
of an
balanced.
artist, things, they ebb and they flow.
Yeah.
And you guys were
Yeah.
flowing, and a lot of people came out and have seen the show and have been chatting about it. So thank you for all of the energy that you both put into creating work, thinking together, working together, and installing this. This was a beast. You really have impressed me and a lot of other people in the department. And
Thank
our
you to everyone
guests.
that showed up.
Hell yeah.
And said they liked it. Because it
Yeah.
made it all worth it to show up.
Yeah, exactly. I really.
Someone gave a shit, you know?
I think that we did not really do this for
Yeah.
us. It was for everyone who came and was there, and we appreciate all the support. And thanks to you also for all of the help.
Yeah, you did.
You guys were honestly pretty low maintenance, so.
Really?
But I'll help you deinstall. Cool beans.
But thanks for having us
Yeah.
for this little talk.
Thank
Tiny
you,
Desk
Micky.
concert.
What's that? Tiny Desk concert?
Yeah,
That's right, that's right.
next,
Yeah, do you have any music requests for what I should play as a fade out when we post this online?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a really like
Maybe,
spot question.
Maybe what's that song called? Send in the Clowns.
Like a circus thing? Okay, send in the clowns.
Yeah.
And cue, send in the clowns. Bye, guys.